everyone. So for me to start, I want to first of all ask you guys to sort of like picture something in your head. Just imagine. So I want you all to just imagine me hunched over my small, tiny laptop writing my fractal code. Now, what is a fractal? A fractal is a shape that basically looks the same at every single scale, kind of like a cosmic snowflake. Now, I rechecked my code like maybe around 6, 7 times because I wanted this to work quite well. So what I did was I hit run, fully confident in my code. I was expecting some beautiful spirals to come because that was what's supposed to happen. But what happened instead? Well, my screen erupted into a mess of chaotic, disgusting blobs. Now, I felt quite sad. My heart actually sank because I spent quite a lot of time trying to configure all of this stuff. But little did I know that all of these errors that occurred, all of these mistakes, they were just part of something small, something that was to become quite beautiful. Hi, my name is Aaron, and today I'm going to talk about the chaos we often see in code, all the messy lines, the bugs, and all those red lines. They're all just part of something that is always going to hurt you, but it'll soon shine forth. So, I don't want to really bore everybody with what I'm about to say, but I would really think this is going to be pretty helpful for you. So I want to first of all tell you that fractals are shapes that show self-similarity. I'm going to ramble on a little bit, so just please bear with me for a few seconds. I promise you'll love this just as much as I do. So they are shapes that show self-similarity. Now, one of the best examples I could actually think of is the Mandelbrot set. This is a set of particular complex numbers which, when applied to a formula, just like this, gives you this beautiful kind of like spirally shape. Now, that one kind of looks like green soapy water, but trust me, they look really, really good. So this is something that is quite important, which we don't really see in our lives that much. Now, if you want me to sort of describe it to you in a way a 3-year-old smarty pants would actually say it, if you repeat putting numbers into this formula, you'll get something that is really, really beautiful. Now, other than fractals, I also want to talk to you about mistakes. How, on the surface level, they look like setbacks, but later on, they aren't. They are actually opportunities. So mistakes are meant to be made, and not every wrong turn is wrong. Right, intro to errors, the errors in progress. Okay, so in our daily lives, we've been taught to sort of frame mistakes as utter failures. I think we all know quite a few examples, us being students, first of all, right? So one thing we can definitely understand is something like a bad grade, maybe an O-level result or an A-level result, literally anything. If you get a low mark, we are taught to sort of think of it as the end of the world. But it really isn't, right? We are taught to dread mistakes, but in reality, they are not at all something we should dread. These are stuff that we should actually embrace. Now, in coding, it's quite funny, really, because in coding and computing in general, bugs or errors, right, is what we call them, they're actually the very heartbeat of the industry. It's quite funny if you think about it, because pretty much every industry works on computers. Like, name me one industry that does not use a computer, like as of 2025. Nothing, right? Every industry uses a computer. And it's kind of funny that that industry itself has so many issues, but they still manage to shine through. So in coding, actually, I have a small kind of anecdote that I had. So I actually wrote kind of some code, right? Remember, as I said in the beginning of my talk. So I prepared a lot for this. I tried so much to sort of calibrate this. But these errors, again, we call them bugs, I kind of treated them as clues. They were kind of like clues to me. And they actually guided me. They kind of pushed me a little bit. Aaron, tweak this code a little bit. Maybe add another number instead. Maybe add another constant value. It kind of told me to sort of look at my code in a very different way. And this was actually kind of good, because it taught me a lot about how my code should work. So if we look at something like, if we take a real-life example, other than what I just told you, maybe like Post-its. Now, the funny thing about Post-its is that it actually started from a glue that was extremely weak, too weak to be considered a superglue, actually. So you see, the scientists at 3M, they were trying to make a really, really powerful superglue. But what happened instead? They accidentally created a very low-tack glue, which ended up being sort of very foundation for Post-it notes. And the really funny thing about this that I actually find is that we expect superglue to sort of like hold stuff together, right, for a very long time. But this weak glue actually ended up holding them for even longer time. So that's kind of funny if you think about it. This also kind of reminds me of something else I did about a year ago, actually. So about a year ago, 2024 actually, I decided to sort of get into this a small sort of computing course because I just wanted to see what I could learn. At this point, I would try to learn anything. So in this course, right, I found it a little difficult, obviously. I mean, me trying to go to a course, I mean, that's like something that is not feasible. But after all those late nights I spent, going through the notes, trying to understand stuff, scouring the internet, even YouTube for pretty much everything, I even troubled the lecturers so much, right, that they began to get annoyed. But I really had to get this through. And it really taught me something. It taught me grit, and it also taught me teamwork. These are stuff that really shaped me. Ooh, a blank slide. OK, never mind. That's just a joke. So now I want to sort of ask you a little bit of an off question, something you would probably not even expect me to ask you. Have you guys ever heard of Jurassic Park? Like, raise of hands? Yes, that's awesome. OK, now this is someone you might not actually remember. There's a character called Ian Malcolm. Does anybody know? Oh, nice. So for those that don't know, that's how he looks like. That's how he looks like in real life. And this is from a recent movie/show he did. So in the movie Jurassic Park, he plays a very, very significant role, actually, as a chaotician. A chaotician is a person that studies chaos theory. And speaking of chaos theory, that is precisely what I want to talk about right now. Chaos theory, what even is this? This is a very broad term that actually suggests that small internal conditions, small tiny changes, can actually lead to massive results. This is also called the butterfly effect, if you will. Now for me to distinguish the two of them, because I feel like some of you might be confused. Even I was confused myself a few days ago. So if you were to keep a set of dominoes, right, lined up vertically, horizontally, doesn't really matter, you could think of that as the chaos theory. And imagine your friend comes and like pushes it along. Now that is the butterfly effect. You can think of it like that. So this is actually kind of pretty important because we see this happening in our lives so quite often, even in penicillin, actually, because it was all created, as you might have heard, when a petri dish was actually left outside, right? It turned into something that was quite awesome and actually ended up saving so many lives. Now, in my own story, quite separately, actually, I ended up joining this coding competition, actually. It was a group one. So some of us over here actually went. I don't know if some of you all remember. So in this competition, I was actually tasked with a very small part of this very round. That was to create a code. No, this was nothing to do with fractals. It was actually something different, which even I don't remember. Now, I was quite confident with what I actually wrote. But I didn't have time to actually review it because judges were like right around the corner. They were done reviewing one team and they were about to come to our team. So I was quite confident because I walked in with quite a good heart. I was like, okay, I just know what to do. All right, it's quite simple. I learned this, I learned that. Okay, fine, that sounds good. So I decided to run my program in front of them. Probably the biggest mistake I could have done because I expected some beautiful outputs that I had written to actually pop up. But what happened instead? Well, I saw so many red lines, like all over the place. Trust me, so many red lines. These were errors, by the way. One of these errors said timeout error. I didn't even know what that meant. Like, I thought timeout was for kids that just did do wrong stuff. Like, what even was a timeout error? I thought the computer was just playing me at this point. Like, what even is a timeout error? So there were some weird errors. There's a logic error, I really don't know why it said logic error. I clearly mentioned it quite well. But yeah, there were so many errors like this, and I felt quite embarrassed because there were so many errors right there, like so many, right? But I didn't let that get to me, right? Yes, it hit me quite hard, like a car, but I didn't really quite give up. So I treated these little bugs, right, as we call them, as puzzle pieces. Puzzle pieces, right? They make up a beautiful image at the end. So I treated them as a puzzle piece, and it really helped me quite a lot. It helped me gather my wits together and helped me to actually understand what my approaches to this problem should be. It told me where I should go, exactly what I should do the next time I have a very similar problem facing me. And yeah, we didn't end up winning it exactly, but it taught me a lot. It taught me that we shouldn't actually panic in situations like this. We should slowly gather our mistakes and use them as puzzle pieces. So this is quite cool. And applying this back to chaos theory / butterfly effect, I understood that just like the flutter of a butterfly's wings, right, the smallest missteps in life can lead to humongous ripples in nature, of course. So this is kind of cool because it tells me that mistakes, they aren't really failures. They're not even setbacks, if you will. They're actually catalysts for unexpected success. Right, fractals. So we've been talking a lot about chaos theory and stuff like that. Let's get into what I was talking about at the start, fractals. So as you saw quite early on, fractals are beautiful spirals. Like, they are really beautiful, trust me. So if I were to tell you to imagine another fractal, something you haven't seen, you can picture a snowflake, right? You've seen snowflakes, right? Probably in cartoons or whatever. So let's just say you have a snowflake. You zoom into it, right? You zoom into it. You see one of its branch, right? You decide to get curious and zoom into it further. So you do. Now, you expect to see the same thing again, like a normal branch, but more pixely. But no, what do you see instead? You see another snowflake. Okay, you decide to get very, very curious and zoom into it again. What do you see? You see another snowflake. So what has happened here? You are seeing the same thing again, and again within itself. That is basically a fractal. And the Mandelbrot set you can think of as like a dark interior core, if you will. It's quite difficult to imagine numbers as images, but yeah, that's basically what it is. And life is quite similar, right? In fractals, a repetition of including a number in a formula plotted against the graph will create beautiful images such as the one you saw earlier. So life is quite similar. The mistakes in life are kind of like the iterations that shape us. They work together to edge us towards something that helps us to develop ourselves. Okay, so we've been talking like way too much about mistakes, right? But what do we exactly do about them? We have to do something, right, about them. I've given you a little hint earlier, but let's talk about it a little bit more. We should embrace them. Like, give your mistakes a good old hug. You probably can't, but yeah, that's what I'm telling you to do. Give it a big hug. So one thing we can do, which I decided to break down into 3 simple steps, right? The first thing we could do is to reframe our mistakes. So don't think of them as fatal errors, blunders, or dead ends. No, think of them as something that is good. Reframe them. Look at them in a different way. It'll really help you. Trust me. It'll help you to stop feeling quite sad all the time. And yes, this is something we should all take into account, including myself. Another thing we should do is actually take risks. Now, this is something a little off, because it raises a few eyebrows for sure. Risks, nobody really wants to take them that much because they are, well, as the word suggests, right, can be quite scary and overwhelming, right? But this is something we should all take, because even programmers take something similar like this into their life, right? They include certain code, they include certain lines that can mean the difference between a very underperforming program or a very high-performing program. So by taking risks to include them, you can really, really see something quite beautiful. Now, the third thing I decided to include is to analyze our errors. So this is something we usually won't have the time to do, but it's something I actually suggest you to do, right? So analyzing our errors. What I mean by this is just take a step back. If you have a couch, sit on it, maybe sip on a cup of tea, coffee, whatever you fancy. Think about your mistakes. Think about what you've done. I'm not asking you to feel sorry for yourself. I'm asking you to look at these mistakes and understand how they work. So by doing this, you'll be able to actually find your way and navigate your way through life. Programmers do the same thing by actually looking at log files, which are files that contain metadata about what a user did, when they did it, and exactly what commands they used. This really helps them a butt ton. Right. So before I wrap off, I want to tell you that bugs are actually, just like I mentioned earlier, errors, right? But think about it for a second. Yes, bugs are a metaphorical term, but I would like to think of them as something that really exists in the real world. They are part of an intricate system that actually teaches us how to grow. So before I wrap up, actually, I want to leave you the bare essence of what I had actually said all this time. I want to tell you that in chaos theory, a small misstep can lead to a very profound action taking place. In fractals, endless repetitions can cause beauty. In coding, a bunch of lines can start off ugly, right, errors, but will soon shine into this glorious, beautiful program. And life is no different, you see. In life, you can think of each mistake as basically an option to debug yourself and to click run again. Because who knows, the next time you run, you might find something beautiful. So next time your plans crash or some mistake occurs, don't really worry about it. Think of it as a new opportunity to click run again. Thank you.